today I want to talk about the algorithm. More specifically, going to talk about it as it relates to Instagram, because that's where we've seen so many changes recently. But like, you can apply a lot of the concepts we're going to talk about anywhere. But like, for some of the specific pieces of what has been changing, I'll obviously be referencing Instagram the most. But I feel like people really kind of got thrown recently when, there were all these changes like coming out of the head of Instagram's mouth in terms of like Instagram is no longer a photo sharing app. And I feel like that just gets like to be a soundbite that freaks everyone the freak out. And so I think there's more to it than that. And I think what he said more above and beyond that, with a lot more context, is that Instagram is really focused on entertainment content, is actually more of what he said, right? He was very clear that they're competing with TikTok, right? Very clear that they are going more entertainment focused, right? Which is a big shift, really, if you think about it, because it used to be much more, it's obviously still a social platform, but it used to be much more social in a different way than like entertainment focused. So I actually think that was the biggest conversation that came out of that. But the point of that is that that really can impact all of us and how that impacts our business quite a bit. And so I want to talk about that today. And the other thing I want to talk about is what you can do regardless of what's changing. I also want to talk about how to think about it. I'm going to give you 3 really specific things to think about in terms of how you're using it. Ellie says that she loves that we're talking Insta because it's her favorite platform. Awesome, Ellie. Well, I'm glad you love Insta, but I also really appreciate you being here. So thank you for both. We just also have to know that things will constantly change on social platforms, right? I think that is really important. I think sometimes, I've been in business for over 6 years now and have been here long enough to really see this all shift a ton over time. And so I think that I have some really valuable insight into the fact that like this is always constantly changing. I think sometimes when you're newer in business and the first big shift happens, like Reels, becoming prioritized or whatever, it can be really, really activating or feel like a really big deal versus kind of being like, well, the norm is always going to be change on these platforms. So what do we do about that? And what does that mean? So that's something I want to talk about today too. Change is going to be constant. And so figuring out like, what are the principles of adapting to that? And then how are we applying that? It's really, really important versus like the freak out that can sometimes come of just like, how do I get good at Reels? Like, not that you shouldn't do Reels or that you can't get good at Reels, but knowing the principles behind it and why you would be doing that and why that matters and how that impacts your business, I think is really, really crucial. And that's what I want to talk about the most today. So that's the thing. Things are always changing. Obviously, Reels are getting prioritized more right now. Stories were such a big thing before that, IG Live before that, IGTV, right? Like all of it is like this constantly rolling out thing. Like Instagram is going to continue to add new features. Even today, like I think or maybe it was yesterday, they announced, which this I think is great news for a lot of businesses, that swipe ups are going away. So you don't have to have 10K followers anymore. You can have a sticker, and that's how we're doing like purchases or links now, is the sticker. So amazing for so many businesses that were like trying to get to that elusive 10K mark so they could have swipe ups. That's like not a thing that you have to worry about anymore. So some of the changes are amazing. Some of them feel really tough. I'm sure for the people that have been using swipe ups really successfully for a long time, that's going to feel like a big change for them. But the point is change is constant, right? And the point is the way we adapt to change is what's important and what matters. And I really think that that's the missing conversation in so much of this. Like sometimes when this stuff comes out, it's like everyone in the online space is like, okay, let's all learn Reels. How fast can we learn Reels? And it's like, we're like, yes, but we're kind of missing the point. So let's do that, right? So here's the thing. I think that, the one foundational principle that has not changed since I've been doing this for 6 years, and that I do not see changing. Yeah, Michelle says that's actually super exciting. I think it is super exciting. And that's a good thing to see too, where it's like Sometimes a feature will feel really easy and exciting to you. Sometimes a feature will feel harder to you. And so that's what we want to talk about too. But this one I think is really, really positive for a lot of businesses. But anyway, so the thing that has not changed in the 6 years I've been doing this, and the thing that I really think we can all keep coming back to that I want to really enforce is engagement, right? And I'm not even saying engagement is the most important thing necessarily dictating sales, but I am saying engagement is the thing that determines who sees your shit is kind of it, right? So what I mean by that is like, it is always the thing, because if you literally just watch this happen for yourself on Instagram, go engage on someone's stuff and then watch Instagram present more of their stuff to you. Same with Facebook, right? The apps want you to see more of what you want because that's what makes them think you'll keep coming back. If I show Lacey more of this thing that she likes, she'll continue to use the platform. She'll be happier with the platform. She'll be, a more frequent user on the platform. Like that serves their agenda really, really well, right? So that's why engagement has been such a foundational thing. And so the thing that's frustrating about that is that that's the thing that can take the most time, right? For you to go out and engage with other people and new accounts and all of that kind of stuff is the thing that can take the most time, and that most people are trying to find like the hack away from. I totally get it. I've totally been there wanting to find that hack. But at the end of the day, I just don't think there's a better way to create that one, relationship with your people, which we all know is so important, but two, to also really get that traction of someone has engaged with you or you've engaged with them, and then the app starts presenting more of each other's stuff to them, right? So like one thing I really try to do is be an engager with people on my wait list, right? That is both a strategy and a relationship builder, right? Like it's not like I don't want to support them or don't care, and it's just completely strategy, although it's a smart strategy. And so seeing some of these things with the algorithm as they can be both, like you can be using smart strategy and you still can care about the people behind the accounts and the likes and all that kind of stuff. So that's the one consistent thing I have not seen change at all. And I think it's just really, really helpful to see, right? Michelle says one of the favorite affirmations about this came from a combo that you and Julia had. Maybe it was on the behind the scenes podcast or something. Yeah. Julie said, everybody loves me. Algorithms don't apply to me. People find me when they need to. I'm going to sell my shit no matter what. This pops up as a reminder on my phone daily. Exactly. We're going to totally get into that too, right? Which is this idea of like, the algorithm is one part of a much bigger strategy, and it doesn't feel like that conversation's happening. Like that's part of what I wanted to talk about today too. The algorithm is a piece of your whole business pie, and some people start treating it as the entire pie and get really fucking wigged out by it. And it is so unnecessary because it is not the whole thing. And I think that affirmation that you just shared there, Michelle, just kind of illustrates that, right? So anyway, engagement is always going to be the thing, at least for the foreseeable future that I can see. And since I've been doing this, when you engage with someone or something, they're showing you more of that thing. And the same goes for people with you, right? Now, I do think it's been more challenging to get people to engage lately. So I'm not saying it's like the ultimate hack. I don't think there's like one hack, but I think that like, if you're ever struggling with like, what should I be focused on here? Coming back to engagement is a really, really, really strong foundation. All right. So the three things that I really want you to think about, and this is what's going to help you see that like the algorithm is not the whole pie here, right? Is what's working in your business for your people, what's working on Instagram in general, and then how are you getting in front of other audiences, right? So I'm going to go more deeply into all three of these, but the first one, what's working in your business for your people, right? Like it sounds so simple, but this is what we can get away from so much when we get really focused on the algorithm. So what's working for your business and your business for your people? For me, like, here's what doesn't work in my business. I can tell you this for fucking short right now. I am not super entertainment-y. Like that is so not my fucking personality. Like if you know me online or know me in real life, like I am never going to be like the funny business coach on Reels. It is like legitimately not my skill set whatsoever. Right. So when Instagram says we're moving to more engagement or entertainment related content, like I know that doesn't personally work super well for me. I would have to try to almost like be different, like just be a different person, for that to come really naturally to me. Like my clients don't hire me because I'm funny and entertaining like that. I guarantee you, if you like surveyed a bunch of my clients and like asked, what are the things you love about Lacey? Funny and entertaining would probably rarely come up. Like every now and then I like, can throw a good joke in or whatever, but like that ain't it for me. Right. But also it's not really what my audience is looking for the most. Right. So meaning like most people aren't coming to my lives, my page, my whatever to be entertained. They're just not. Like they might be using Instagram for entertainment, but when they are coming to me specifically, they want value related to business. They want deep dive content. Like that is what I have built my whole business around. And that's what my people enjoy and want. And that's what gets them to convert, which is a whole other conversation that we will have today too. So I think it's just really important to be thinking about like, do you know what your audience likes the most? Do you know what they're coming to you for the most? Do you know what you're best at? Even if Instagram is saying like right now, be best at entertainment, like you could like rework your whole fucking business and your whole fucking strategy trying to like be the best at entertainment content and feel really, really, really frustrated by it because number one, that's not you. And number two, it's not what your people really even want the most from you. Right. Or you can be like, okay, that's what Instagram is pushing right now. Here's what I know my people like and that I'm doubling down on. Like one of the things I say a lot is like create content that people want to come find, even if the algorithm doesn't present it to them, right? Make your content something that people literally want to come find. They will like keep you in your search bar or whatever, right? Oh, sorry, I missed some of these comments. Michelle says, my people hide from engaging, understandably so. I have to get creative on how to connect with them and make them feel seen since that's what my corner of the internet is all about. Exactly. Like same, Michelle, right? Yours is like, let me make you feel seen and heard. It is not like, let me entertain you in all these ways. Molly loves your quote. Awesome. Katie says, yeah, I'm not entertainment focused. Totally. And that's okay, right? It might feel tough for a period of time in your business when something else is getting prioritized. But again, that changes so much. And you can also feel into like, how can I use that in a way that does suit my stuff? So one of the little things we're doing is I kind of came up with this funny little thing that's just like working in my brain right now. But I was saying to my team, like, I want us to use real content to reel people in. Meaning like I want, we'll probably do like clips of this video. We'll probably do clips of the client stories and doing different things like that to like pull them into other content. But like, that's how we'll probably use the feature for the most part. Unless, I decide something else at some point, which is obviously always okay to change. But like for the future at this moment, that's probably how we'll be using is to reel them into other content because I really believe in deep dive content like this. I don't necessarily believe as much in 15, 30, 60-second quick snippets for my people as much because that's not how I really operate, right? So the point is you can find ways to do it that work best for how you work, but feeling like you have to totally do something different that like probably doesn't suit you and isn't even what your people want from you just to make the algorithm work is so not worth it because also that will change. And so if you're running your business trying to constantly adjust to that, you're playing a losing game in many ways because that will keep changing. And if you're not creating content your audience loves enough to come find, even if the algorithm isn't presenting it, even if, they didn't see it that day, then ultimately when Reels stops being prioritized and something else comes up, you're going to have to chase that super quickly and make a huge pivot too. So I think that that's just a much tougher way to run your business, is to be getting away from the thing that you love and that your people love. Like that is where your conversions happen. It's not just based on the algorithm. So really think about that. Like what's working in your business for your people, right? Focus on creating content that people want to come find, and then have plenty of other ways to send them back to that. So it's like, I'm going to use that feature to send them back to the content I really believe in and know my people want. Does that make sense? Let me know if that is resonating. So then the next piece, Katie says, which is why consistency is so important because your people will come looking for you. It's exactly that. If they know, like, I can get this value from you every week in this like super important way to me, whatever, like they'll come back for that. Like when I think about my content, like I don't think it's the thing you're watching while you're like scrolling through stories at midnight. Like I don't fucking want to watch business stuff then either. I want to see like cute cats on video or whatever. You know what I mean? But I think that when they want that value and when they want to learn something, that's what they're going to come back to. And so feeling really solid in that and not trying to be the thing that they're watching at midnight when they're scrolling their phone is just okay. And just, it's almost like we have to know our lanes sometimes. You know what I mean? So the next part is what's working on Instagram in general. And that's, of course, what we've been talking about. Like, of course, reels are working. Of course, they're prioritizing that. They've made that super clear. That is not, not transparent at all. So then it's figuring out how to leverage those in a way that works for what's working for you and your people. So it's like I was saying, we'll take pieces of my deeper content and probably filter it through that and like reel them into other things. That's what works for us, right? You might be someone, and I actually have a few clients who are like this, who love to play with the changes. Like they think it's so fun and they're really like invigorated by that. By all means, do that too then. Like find what's working on Instagram and keep playing with that and adapting to it and like learning it and then helping other people come with you. Like that's amazing too, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Like I think I have so many clients that are killing it with reels right now, But it's like, we don't want to vilify any one thing, but we also don't want to pedestal any one thing either. You know what I'm saying, right? It's not bad to run with that, play with it, enjoy it, but it works for them because they fucking love it, right? So figure out what's working and then figure out how you can apply it to yourself without feeling like you're supposed to do whatever, a certain thing or be a certain way. Like you don't have to be the funniest coach on the internet now because reels are popular. Like you have to figure out how do those apply to what you're already doing. So an example of that for me was like when stories were the thing, the new thing. I was really like, like you guys have heard me talk about this a ton, like sharing like day-to-day life shit is not so much my thing. Like maybe in the future, who knows, but like it just hasn't been for a really long time. It's not my jam. So I had to figure out like how to use stories in a way that works for me, my business, that feels good. And client lessons on there has been the answer to that. So like using the feature in a way that fits, as opposed to me feeling like, well, the only way I can use this feature is if I'm sharing all of this behind the scenes stuff. And now I either have to force myself to do this thing that feels bad and that I don't want to do long-term, or I don't benefit from that thing. You don't have to play that game either. It's like, how do I make what's working work for me? Right. And the thing is, again, I know I'm like a broken record with this, but it's all going to change, right? Like the reason reels are so great right now is because less people are making reels and because Instagram is pushing them. So when there is more reels and Instagram is more focused on the next thing, those probably won't be quite as popular. But if your audience has really gotten to love those from you, if you're obsessed with them, like that can still keep working for you, right? Like client lessons in my story still work, but I had to figure out how to make them work for me in a way that I wanted to show up for long-term, in a way that my audience really liked. And so that's when that clicks, right? And then the last one is, how are you getting in front of other audiences? So the value of a reel right now is reach, right? It's you're getting more reach. So people are, instead of getting 100 views, they're getting 1,000, or instead of 1,000, they're getting 10,000. Like, reach is important. And we should always constantly be thinking about, how am I getting in front of other audiences in my business? So reels are a good tool for reach right now, but also remember, that's not the whole pie either. Like, what you do with the people you reach is also vastly important. And I think that's a challenge of reels right now, is because it's so short and because it's so entertainment-y, we have to work harder to convert people off of those, right? But if you love them, it's worth the work. You know what I'm saying? But if you hate them, that's cool too. Like, that's kind of what I'm trying to say here today. You can find other ways to get in front of other audiences. So if right now, I feel like I have clients that are doing this in a variety of ways. Like, if reels are their thing, they're using that to do it, and it's, working, and they're getting reach, and it's all as well. If not, like, could you be doing collaborations? Could you be getting on other people's podcasts? Like, one of my clients is doing a summit right now and is killing it. Like, another client is using PR really well right now. Like, there's so many avenues. A lot of my clients use Facebook groups still, and that works super well for them. Like, it's just a tool to get in front of other audiences. And yes, that can be easier when the algorithm helps you with that. But if you're someone that just like loves collaborating, it might be easier to do collaborations, right? So that's the thing you have to think about, is like, what are the points of all of these? Well, the point of that reach is to get in front of other audiences. What are all of my options there? Oh, okay. Like, here are 52 things. Let me pick. It's not like reels are the single way that I can reach people right now, and now I'm fucked. Like, that is what kills me with all of this, is that it feels so rigid, and it feels so like this is the way kind of thing. And it doesn't have to be. But what the foundation of that is, get in front of other people's audiences, has to be the thing. So you see how like these principles make sense when you filter it through. Of course, always do what works for you and your audience, regardless, right? Like, that has to come first in your business 100% of the time, always. Of course, use tools that are working. Figure out how to leverage what's already out there to make things work best for you. And then, of course, figure out how to get in front of other audiences. That should always, always, always be a strategy in your business. And you might just be using different tools to do that at different times. And then even with the engagement, foundational principle of that is build relationships, right? Should always be doing that in your business no matter what. And so if you look at it through those lenses, the algorithm, number one, doesn't get that complicated, but number two is just a piece of the bigger pie. And so when we can really understand the why behind a lot of this, it makes more sense to us. When we can understand like, oh, Instagram is catering to like what people are like kind of like scrolling through for entertainment, when they're like hanging out on their phone at night or whatever. Okay, like, where do I fit into that, and how do I relate to that? And then going from there. Does that make sense? Does that, like, I would love to know, like, does that make you feel more confused? Does that make you feel better? Does that like give you a more solid foundation? What I really, really hope that it helps with is just making it not feel like these are all things that you like absolutely don't know, don't get, have to like very like complicated, like, hack and figure out. Like, that should not be how you're feeling about it at all. It should be like you're constantly picking from, like, especially, I mean, Instagram in general has so many fucking things available now, and probably will just keep that, like, right? It's like reels, IGTV, IG live, stories, feed, all, like, that will just keep getting more and more. So what you're trying to figure out is like, how do I pick the tools that I want to use, which is always what you're making choices around in business, is how do I pick the tools I want to use that work best for me and best for my people, right? So if you can really keep coming back to those key things, what's working for you in your business, what's working on that platform or Instagram in general, how are you getting in front of other audiences, you will feel like you can wade through these changes that are coming. If you feel like you have to be like this super strategic expert on all of this really complicated stuff, it is easier to just feel like, fuck it. You know what I mean? So I hope that helps. The other thing I really want to talk about is focusing on the results. So this is also a conversation that gets really, really lost when people are talking about the algorithm, is what we ultimately have to be focused on always in business is what is the result of this? So even if your reel is getting 10,000 reach, is the result that you're getting more people buying from your business is what we have to be thinking about, because reach doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter if you're not getting sales off of that, right? And if you're getting sales like without having to do that, that's important to look at too. Like if you already are like, well, my business is already doing really, really, really well because I know I'm giving my people content that they want. And now I feel like I have to change that to match a platform. You're missing the point completely. Like you should be 100% focused on what your people like and what gets you the actual end result in your business. Like the algorithm, the views, the reach, that's just part of the process. That is not an end result at all. Okay. So the more we look at things like likes, whatever, views, reach, whatever, as the end result, the more we have lost the plot in business. Okay. Like we have to be so careful to not get so invested in those things that we lose that plot of like the point of the business is to get that ultimate end result, which is like clients, right? And of course the end result past that is happy clients. But for the purpose of this conversation, the end result is a conversion, right? So please, please, please focus on that. Like I have a $1 million business, right? And don't get a ton of engagement on Instagram, honestly. What I do get a lot of on there, which I think is interesting, and again, it just shows that like it depends and people are engaging differently, is I get sometimes as many saves as even likes. Like our saves are through the roof. Our likes are lower, but I still see the engagement happening, right? But like with saves or with outreach or other things like that. But what I ultimately see is in the result of my business, right? So I don't have to have a ton of engagement, like likes, whatever, in order to have results. And so just paying attention to that in your own business and not like equating the two so strongly, like to have a certain amount of views and a certain amount of people and a certain amount of this to get this result. Like when you start to confound the two too much, it can make you make stupid decisions in business. But when you're looking at what actually creates conversions in your business, that's what starts to matter. So something else that's interesting just from my own perspective here is like the thing I get the most engagement on by far on Instagram is when I do like kind of like short, snappy quote graphics. And what's so funny about that is that's where I get the most engagement, but I have never, ever had someone told me that's what made me want to buy from you. But I've had a bajillion people tell me that's what made me want to buy from you if it was like a deep dive live stream, a deep dive podcast, all those kind of things. Like I know what converts, even if what seems to get the most interest, like outwardly, isn't that. Does that make sense? So paying attention to that in your own business is so freaking important, because when you can really get a hold on, oh, like that might not like be the thing that always like blows up in terms of like reach and engagement, but it is the thing that makes someone want to like spend $7,500 to work with me. Well, you have really, really, really important perspective. And of course you can combine the two strategically, but the whole point of any of that shit that we're talking about is to get that sale ultimately, right? And so if we stop doing what gets us that sale in favor of getting more of the likes or whatever, we're hurting our business so much, right? So that's really important to think about too, is like, do you know what's creating the biggest conversions for you? If you do, please keep doubling down on that always, and then find a way to use other tools to help point back to that. It's like I was saying earlier, like we'll use reels to point back to the podcast or like a live like this or a client lesson or something like that, because I know that's what converts. And so I want to play the conversion game versus the like metrics, like how they look game, right? So I think that that's just really important to hear sometimes, is that we get really wrapped up in thinking like this has to impact my results. And we can, like I said earlier, almost like lose the plot in that. But if you can keep coming back to like what actually works best for me, what are my people telling me they're converting from? And then how do I use all the tools at my disposal to do more of that? That's when your business can sustain all of these changes, because you know what really, really matters the most to your audience. Like that's when things get really good and really powerful. And that's when like shit doesn't fuck with you as much. It's kind of how Michelle said earlier, the thing about Julia being like, the algorithm doesn't impact me. Like that's why, because she knows what her people like. I mean, it's obviously also a rock solid mindset to have. So like, let's not forget that there's this whole other mindset component to all of this that I probably won't get to go into today, but right. It still is being like, I know what my people like. I know what converts. Like, I don't have to worry about all that shit if I keep my eye on the prize here. But here's the thing. If I get so invested in worrying so much about all of that, sometimes I take my eye off the prize, and then I feel extra confused in my business, because I'm like, well, I'm doing all this stuff that like I'm supposed to do on Instagram, and now I'm converting even less. What the fuck is going on? And it can feel so intense and intimidating. Right. But what's probably going on is that you stopped doing the thing that ultimately was converting best in favor of doing this stuff. So just don't lose sight of that. Leslie says it makes so much sense to always go back to the principles and basics of business. Yeah, Leslie, that is my jam. And I think it's what keeps me personally keeps me really grounded in business and helps me be a better coach to my clients, is I really feel like there are these foundational principles that we always need to be coming back to and applying things to. And when we get really far away from that is when business feels complicated. So I really appreciate you saying that. Michelle added, I also love how all of this just highlights how important it is to consistently show up over time, regardless of what's happening in the day-to-day, week to week. It's so true, right? That consistency over time is 100% what even shows you what your people like, what shows you what makes them convert, right? And when you have that information is when you can weather so much of these other storms, right? Jessica says, sometimes it feels like a black hole where I don't exactly know what's driving conversions, but have guesses. Jessica, I think like that totally makes sense for so many people, especially if you're new in business. Like I know, because I have like a few, like 6 years of doing this, right? But that says to me is like, that's your most important moment in business, to be like, that's what I'm figuring out. Like, that's where my attention is going. That's the number one problem I'm solving. And really for anyone listening too, like if you're like, I really don't know what drives conversions in my business, please, please, please stop worrying so much about the algorithm and go freaking all in on figuring out what drives conversions, right? Like, ask your people, interview them, talk to people that have bought from you, talk to people in your audience, ask what, is making them most interested in working with you. Like, experiment, test things, like go all in on that. Like, make that the number one, your goal in your business is like, what makes my people convert the most? And everything will feel easier. I'm not saying that process doesn't require effort and energy. It surely does, but so does anything else, right? So does trying to like hack this algorithm thing, hoping that you get enough views that people convert or something. Like, do not do that to yourself, right? Hack the what makes my people convert thing first. And that's when it gets easier. It's like how Michelle was saying earlier, like, I know what my people need most from me is to feel like really seen and heard and stuff. So it's like, it doesn't have to be anything super, super complicated. It's just knowing that, right? Like, I know my people really like that. They know I give a massive amount of value, and that anything that they listen to or come to from me is going to give them golden nuggets and some wisdom and things like that. And they know that that's really reliable and consistent. It's not like any one specific type of way that I do it or something. It's just like that consistently knowing like I'm always going to get a shit ton of value here is what converts. So it's probably not super complicated what it is, but knowing it is really important. I got jealous when you said, it drives conversions. Totally. So I think that's just so cool because now you just know like, oh, that's literally like the number one problem I have to solve in my business. Like I just get to go focus on that. And again, it's probably simpler than it seems right now. Michelle said, I always ask my folks how they found me. And I just laugh at how many folks are still finding me on TikTok, which I haven't posted on in months. Totally. And Michelle, like that might be a thing, right? Like when I know that and have that data, then it feels worth it to spend more time on that. Like, especially if the TikTok people are the people converting and buying, right? But knowing that, asking that, leaning into that is what gives you the data to really make sure you're making decisions based on what works for your business, not what works for, the constantly changing algorithm, right? It's fickle. Don't bet your business on that. Bet your business on like, I know the last 6 people mentioned this when they bought from me. Like that's the shit to bet on. You know what I mean? And actually it's really funny because something else that this brings up for me too is that things like how we're talking about things changing a lot. So what we had done a long time ago, gosh, I don't even remember how long ago this was probably quite some time ago, is we had done the bot thing, where like everyone was doing it. It was like such a big thing in the online space. It was years ago where you could just like hook your account up. This thing would go in and like follow and unfollow people in your target audiences. And it seemed like this magic thing where it was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. This is so magical. This solves so many problems. It can get me in front of more people, does all this stuff. Amazing, sold. Let's do it. Except now that fucks you so hard. We are now spending a bunch of time, my team and I, cleaning up followers on my account. Like my account is shrinking for sure right now because we want those followers that came from that time that were like never really great or qualified followers to begin with to go away because that hurts your engagement and reach overall too. So my point is sometimes when things seem like the magic bullet, they're really not, and they bite you in the butt later. So it's kind of how I was saying, it can seem like the magic bullet to like switch everything around and like triple down on reels and like whatever. But if that doesn't feel long-term sustainable for you, it might bite you in the butt if you don't know that that's what's helping you convert, right? So just like that thing bit me in the butt, and we all have those things that happen. So like no shame in that game, but just how that thing of using that when it was like the magic secret is totally biting me in the butt years later, right? These things can too if we get too wrapped up in them, right? So that was totally an example of me just like taking the easy way out and getting wrapped up in something and then now having to clean that shit up. So what you'll never have to clean up is knowing what your people like, knowing what makes them convert, keeping your eye on that ultimate prize, right? Like it's amazing if you think about it. Like I really think about like my clients, even the people that hire me, these are not the people that are engaging with me the most ever. They like my content, they come back, they find it. They're probably the people saving it, right? But they're not by any means the people that are most engaged usually. And that's not a terrible thing. But what it makes me do is really keep my focus where it needs to be on conversions, on what they're saying on a sales call versus, what my likes say. So I hope that piece helps too. Again, we don't want to do either thing, right? Like we don't want to vilify any one of these strategies and we don't want to pedestal any one of these strategies. Like none of them is like the ultimate hack, nor will it be for a long time. And none of them are bad. Like, again, if you're digging a certain thing, please run with it. Like use it to your advantage. Oh my God, yes. But if you are like drowning in overwhelm with like all the things you're supposed to learn and do and getting so caught up in that you're not really paying attention to what is going to most serve your business and get you sales, this is also the opportunity to shift that. Michelle says it only took one. Oh, I feel like I finally got into a rhythm with what's helpful for my folks, but also systematic enough to be easy for me. And I'm sure it'll keep evolving and changing with time. It only took 1.5 years. Exactly. Right. And like, that's kind of the like great news and bad news, right? Is that you really can get to that point and you really can ride through some of these things better, but it's just usually not as fast as we want it to be. And it's usually like way too easy to get so invested in all of these other things because we think it will be faster. But putting in that 1.5 years of like knowing what converts, knowing what your people like, finding the rhythm with that, putting systems behind it so it's actually easy for you, like you can't hack that, and there's nothing better. And it's just frustrating because a lot of people don't want to ride that out. Like even when I talk to clients sometimes that are like newer about like a 6-month plan and really like riding that 6 months and learning a lot through it, like they hate it. Like they hate that idea. It's like, I want to know what works 2 days from Tuesday. Like, fuck this, and I get it. It's so tough to kind of stay in it. But I think that that's sort of the point of all of this too, is like, in some ways it's never been harder to grow on social, but in some ways it's never been easier because there's so many tools at your disposal. It's just how much of a mind fuck is it going to be that it stops you from getting back to the basics and doing the principles that matter, right? Michelle says, on a random side note, I feel like the bugs have gotten bigger with this pandemic. There's a terrifying one on my windshield. The lack of people out there made them grow. That's so funny. I was on a call with one of my clients the other day, and she was like, there is a giant spider in my kitchen. I have trapped him under something and I will just leave him there for the foreseeable future because I don't know what to do with that. So she would totally co-sign the bugs have gotten bigger one. Okay, but so I hope this helps. So let me kind of recap here really quickly. Remember, if you're here and you want to win the biz bundle, any comment will do. Obviously, if you comment and I give it to you, you don't have to accept it. You can also always gift it as well. But all right, so coming back to it, really focus on these basic principles of like, there will always be change, right? So you have to get back to the foundations or the change will crush you, right? Things are constantly changing. You get to decide what works for you and your business and your people, what works for the tool or the platform in general, and then how are you getting in front of other people's audiences? If you keep coming back to those 3 basics, you're good in terms of strategy. The fourth and most important is keep your eye on the prize, right? So those 3 things should just be helping you to make more sales and get clients in your business. If those 3 things are about anything other than what helps you make more sales and get more clients, you have officially gotten sucked into the social media rabbit hole and you need to crawl your way back out, right? Eye on the prize. You can have $1 million business and 15 likes on something. I promise it's true. Now, there are other pieces to that, but when we feel like that is the only avenue is when we get stuck and when we go down that rabbit hole. So I hope this just was like a little bit of a breath of fresh air to be like, oh yeah, this shit all makes sense. That is always my goal here with you, is to take what the online world is sometimes massively complicating into shit that makes sense that we can apply. Because remember, most things and programs make money off of it feeling complicated. And so a lot of the marketing around like, you must learn this now, you must do this, or your business will die, blah, 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 is just that marketing. And so remember to be separating that out to like, what's marketing and what is actually strategy I should be paying attention to. So I hope this helped. I appreciate you guys. Again, thank you so much for being here. I know there are a million types of content you could consume, as we have said, and the fact that you choose to be here, whether that's live with me or watching the replay, really means more to me than I could possibly say. So I just always want you to know how much I appreciate that and how much it means to me, because, like, this is something that's so important to me and something that I care about. And the fact that you guys reciprocate that means the world. So hope that you have a beautiful week. Thank you for being here. Oh, really quick. Last thing. I feel like I've been really bad about mentioning this lately, and I've had a few questions about it. If you want to get on my one-on-one wait list, you can absolutely still do that. I feel like some people thought it was closed because I haven't been mentioning it, which is completely on me and completely my fault. So I apologize if you guys thought that. My one-on-one wait list is definitely open. If you get on there, you get to ask me questions each month. You get access to answers to all the previous month's questions, content you can't get anywhere else. And you get to be on there to be the first to notified when we open intensives, VIP days, or one-on-one spots. So would love for you to jump on there. It's alituplife.com/waitlist, but it is definitely not closed. It is open. I will put the link below. And so sorry if that was confusing at all. I have just been bad about that lately. Awesome. All right. Amber says, can't wait to get to the first 40 minutes. Yeah, I know I said I was going to keep this short, but we're we're not quite there. But thank you, Amber, for catching the first bit. I actually do think it'll be really, really helpful. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate y'all, and I hope you have a good week. Bye.